When most people think of Louisiana, they think New Orleans, casino boat gambling, LSU Tigers. I mean, they did just win the national championship. But if you're a saltwater fisherman, Louisiana makes you think of something a little different: great fishing. And for me and my boys, it's a bucket list trip we've always dreamed of. This past November, after a year in eastern North Carolina that offered almost no slot red fishing, due to what I don't know, they just weren't there. The thought of screaming drags and full days of putting up big numbers on 30-inch redfish sounded too good to pass. So we pulled the trigger on a last-minute trip. Having never been before and not knowing what to expect, we decided up front that this trip would be straight up recon, keeping our expectations in check and trying to learn as much about the place as we possibly could. If you've never fished South Louisiana, hopefully this will help you know what to expect and better plan your trip. Alright, enough talk for now. Let's go fishing. The areas we fished on day one were marshy creeks. If you can't tell by now, the weather was cold. We arrived on the tail end of a 5-day cold snap. This made fishing more challenging with lower water temperatures and frigid cold morning runs. Although if I'm being honest, I doubt we ran more than 3 miles from the dock the whole trip. Our captain, Brent, who wasn't the captain we hired, but he was the captain our captain hired to take us fishing. When you come on short notice, these things happen. Anyways, Brent is a Louisiana native and a pretty good guy. And by the way, if you charter a captain down here, you gotta know everything goes in the cooler. I mean everything. It was a little surreal because back home, it can be challenging to catch a keeper size of anything. But that's a different fishery and a different story. Not an issue in South Louisiana. Brent had us using a variety of techniques, from popping cork with soft plastic to popping cork with cut shrimp and even Carolina rigs. The current and tide down here really play into the fishing more so than back home. For example, on lower tides, you can't even get to some of the better fishing spots.
That's a cat. Oh, Steve!
Yes, sir! Yes! He probably swallowed up.
Steve has a nice one, dude. You nailed that, bro.
Let's get the Carolina rig roll.
Though we are trying to target redfish, We ended up with a mixed bag throughout the day of trout, redfish, sheep's head, and some sort of saltwater channel cat. The sheep's head were a nice surprise and fun to catch. The catfish, however, we cared nothing about catching. Our captain, on the other hand, loved these cats and made us promise to fry some that night, which we did, and they were tasty. Here's one of the better redfish we caught on this trip, and definitely what we came for. As we made our way back in that afternoon, we finally got to see the area we were in, Bayou du Large in Terrebonne Parish. Best seen from the water, no doubt. A fishing community. No hotels, no restaurants, one little store, thousands of boats. Our kind of place. These pelicans know exactly what's getting ready to go down in Bayou du Large, as you'll see in a minute. Captain Brent offered to show us his family fish camp on the way in, and who wouldn't want to take a look at this unique gem of bayou architecture. Very cool place. All down the bayou, the hum of electric fillet knives is a dinner bell for the pelicans. The amount of fish meat taken out of the water in South Louisiana on most days can be measured in metric tons, yet this fishery keeps replenishing itself, which is amazing and says a lot for the health of these waters and sound management practices. I wonder how many people down here realize how fortunate they are to have a ban on saltwater gill nets. Coming from North Carolina, where gill nets are still allowed, it's clear to see the contrast in fishery success. Brent loads us up with tasty fillets, and after a quick visit to the store in Du Large for provisions, we settled in for showers, checked in with loved ones back home, and had a great meal. As the sun set over the bayou, we recounted stories of the day, of caught fish and the ones that got away, but mostly the ones we left out there. and would no doubt catch tomorrow. This day was as cold and probably a little windier than the day before. If you don't think South Louisiana can be cold in November, I'm here to tell you it can. Not unbearable, but a little uncomfortable. So I made a decision that morning to put the camera down and focus on fishing and enjoying the day with good friends. But as usual, I always look back and wish I had shot more video. Some takeaways to remember. Try and plan your trip in warmer months. From what we were told, spring and summer are best for trout. Late summer and early fall are best for reds. By October, the trout bite is on fire again. Come November, December, it's a crapshoot. But know this, it can go off down here on any day. And if I was a few-hour driving range, we'd be freelancing the heck out of this place. But we're not. So I'm content in planning and looking forward to our next trip with a captain. Despite what Mother Nature threw at us, this trip was epic. Sure, we could have done better, but we certainly could have done worse. We'll be back.